The end. What do you think, bud?
We are talking about the indie horror movie It Lives Inside. This one is directed by Jeff Hall and stars Rett Terrell and Alissa Rose Ford. Now this is a kind of low budget possession style movie, and we have a bit of a prologue at the beginning of the movie showing you something from I think it's 1890, where this kind of mysterious force takes over this guy and seems to make him commit loads of murders. And that's really kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen in the kind of the main story, as it focuses on this young family, this guy who is a gardener and his wife and their young baby, and they move to this kind of new area, and he breaks his leg in a kind of an accident, and whilst he's off, he's kind of like rooting around their new house and finds like a box of some kind of like mysterious stuff in there. Anyway, there seems to be some type of like malevolent spirit that's kind of taking him over, causing him to have sort of blackouts and stuff like that, and as the movie progresses, people turn up missing, there's a dead dog in the garden, and well, what happens, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. Except, it pretty much foreshadows what's going to happen at the beginning of the movie, so there's no real surprises in this movie. So, yeah, I mean, this movie has got a very basic plot that doesn't really kind of go anywhere different, so there's no real kind of like question about what's happening. I mean, I think we're meant, as an audience, we're meant to question if this guy's just losing his shit, or if there is some kind of supernatural presence, but we've seen that there is, so I don't know really where it's going to go with this one. So let's talk about any positives first of all. We do have a scene sort of towards the end of the movie, and we see a kind of a sort of demonic presence, and it's kind of CGI, but I kind of like the design. I thought it was quite cool, like a shadowy kind of like monster looking thing. And I've got to say the actual the prologue, the intro here, set in the kind of the 19th century, is actually quite good. I thought that was kind of quite well done and looked quite good. The movie also plays it very subtly. It's a very sort of slow moving film, and it almost feels more like a drama than a horror film. It's not necessarily a positive exactly, but it's just a kind of a comment. So this guy, you know, it's more like an abusive relationship that's kind of like very little kind of like sci-fi or horror stuff going on. It's just, this guy could quite well be just a kind of an abusive boyfriend, and maybe that's meant to be an allegory for that or something like that. But on the negative side here, this movie is just ridiculously slow, and there's the kind of supernatural stuff is so in the background you'll forget you're watching a quote-unquote horror movie, because there's just nothing on display until you get to right at the end of the movie, when you will see something more overt happening. You know, the stuff that happens here could just be anyone. It could be just a low budget indie sort of like somewhat kind of like interestingly acted movie. And I say interestingly acted because our protagonist is quite unlikable. He just seems like a bit of an asshole, so you're not really rooting for him. It's just the decisions made obviously by the director and the actor here, and I guess the writing as well. You're not really rooting for the guy. He just seems very unlikable, very kind of like aggressive to those sort of people around him. And yes, you could say that obviously it's this force that affecting him, but we don't see the change. He just seems to be like that right from the get-go. So he always seems like an asshole. He just always seems grouchy and kind of argumentative. So it's not like we see this sort of change in him, and obviously being influenced by some type of like supernatural force. So it is a problem. And to be honest with you, it's mostly him on screen. I mean, there are some kind of neat effects in regards to, you know, he has this young baby, and it looks like he might have been, you know, might be abusing the baby, and the effects on the baby look quite convincing and stuff like that. It's not gratuitous, but you know, it's subtle, but it looks like, you know, this kid has got, you know, bruises and stuff on him. But I'm really scraping the barrel here for for trying to stay positive, because ultimately it's just not very interesting. It's just a very sort of straightforward plot that is very slow and ultimately doesn't have a lot happening. It's just this guy freaking out, essentially, and kind of like moaning about stuff pretty much about 90% of the movie. So an exciting movie this does not make. It's out in August by High Octane Pictures if you want to check it out. But there's very little to kind of really recommend this movie. I mean, the cover as well is... This is one of those covers where they've gone to the generic horror cover workshop, and that'll do. Nothing to do with the movie. Yeah, I can't really recommend this one, unfortunately. So I want to give this one a measly 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.